Okay, so this is going to be another quick video to serve as a complement to my earlier Horn to Moses video where I go into relatively good detail about the relationship between the prophetic son of Marduk, Nabu, from ancient Mesopotamia, specifically Babylon, where his principal seat of worship was at Borsippa, nearby, and again, his relationship between himself and Moses. So that was to explain the horned aspect. Now I'm also going to reinforce that video in the relationship between Moses and Hermes, because that's really what we're getting at here, right? So, because that's who Nabu himself represents, is Hermes, the Logos. That's how Nabu is identified in ancient Mesopotamia. So, in order to further demonstrate this connection, I have a couple more sources. So, one source is going to be Eusebius of Caesarea's Preparatorio Evangelica. I'm going to read what Artabanus has to say, according to Eusebius, one of the early church fathers. And then I'm going to really quickly show this screenshot. So this is from the ruling races of prehistoric times, as I showed or demonstrated in this other video of mine. One second. In Horned Moses, I went and demonstrated the connection between Ophiuchus, Scorpio, Nabu, Lyson, or Nisi, the mother goddess of ancient Mesopotamia, and I showed how Moses was connected to that. I also kind of hinted at what should be inferred from that video is the relatively obvious connection between the Milky Way and the parting of the Red Sea. So Antares is the star that I identified directly with Nabu, thanks to Hermann Hunger. And this gentleman right here, also, this is James Francis, I think it's Kafka or some shit like that, but also happens to identify Moses with Antares, as you can see here. So he says, Masu, the antelope, Mas, god of the Akkadians, son of the Mas, the pair of building bricks, who became the god Nergal, the Masa of the Etruscans, Moses of the Jews, and Mars, all names for the god of fertility. Like I said, there's always a solar connection. Masu, the constellation Leo, the father god of the sons of the rivers, yada yada yada. Also, probably the star Antares in Scorpio, a marriage of Moses to a Cushite wife, right? Keeping in mind, Antares is representative of both the mother goddess Lyce, who is hailed as the Mater Dolorosa of ancient Mesopotamia, the morning goddess, and Nabu, right, who represents Moses. That's what I was saying, was that this Mercurian figure, it's passed down through Nabu onto Moses, who serves as the son of God, effectively, in the Old Testament. He is the Masu, or hero, of the Old Testament. Jesus prior to Jesus. And there are literal 10-minute long videos comparing quotations about Moses and Jesus and the things that they did side by side, and it's almost like they verbatim copied the same accomplishments. Like, this is clearly the same character, okay? Keeping in mind that Nabu is directly associated in Mandaism with Jesus. Okay, so back to Eusebius. We come to this quotation about Artabanus. Now keep in mind, this is coming from a Christian polemicist and early church father. So what does that mean? In reality, even though it's being attributed to an early Alexandrian Jew, who it's actually coming from is a Christian church father. Okay, so keep that in mind. But the attestation here, quote, and this is chapter 18 of Preparatorio Evangelica. So, quote, Artabanus in his Jewish history says that the Jews were called Irmuth, which, when interpreted after the Greek language, means Judeans, and that they were called Hebrews from Abraham. And he, they say, came with all his household into Egypt to Pharaoh-Totes, the king of the Egyptians, which just means like Pharaoh Toth, and taught him astrology. After remaining there 20 years, removed back again into the regions of Syria, but that many of those who had come with him remained in Egypt because of the prosperity of the country. In certain anonymous works, however... Sorry, one sec. Okay, we had to skip ahead. So, chapter 27. Alright, what do we got here? And this Moses, they said, was the teacher of Orpheus, and when grown up, he taught mankind many useful things, for he was the inventor of ships, always the association with ships, and machines for laying stones, and Egyptian arms, and engines for drawing water for war, and invented philosophy. Further, he divided the state into 36 nomes and appointed the god to be worshipped by each nome, and the sacred writing for the priests, and their gods were cats and dogs and ibises. He also apportioned a special district for the priests. All these things he did for the sake of keeping the sovereignty firm and safe for the Shinepris. For these reasons, then Moses was beloved by the multitudes, and being deemed by the priests worthy to be honored like a god, was named Hermes because of his interpretation of the hieroglyphics. Okay, so I'm going to leave it off there. As you can see, there is a very esoteric connection between Moses, Nabu, Hermes. This is to say that Abrahamic religions in their entirety are quite obviously derived from Orphic traditions. I mean, it's nothing new, right? Like, I'm not the first person to say that or anything like that. So, but I think something that's much less talked about is the rather obvious connection between Moses and Hermes and Nabu. I've seen some scholars like David Litwa talk about, quote Artabanus and talk about this a little bit. He doesn't make the Christian connection. He just talks about the fact that it's an ancient Jew making this connection, but he doesn't talk about the fact that it's a Christian Polymasus church father that's writing about it, which means that the Christians are claiming Moses to be Hermes, right? But either way, I mean, this stuff, once you see it, it's you can't really miss it. All right, much love.